So you got a bit of seed funding and you need to hire a few people to help you accelerate your startup. Great, awesome. But where do you start and how do you know who's a fit for you? The biggest challenge that founders like you and I face is efficiently hiring the right people. Once you get funded, you really need to kick up the intensity a notch or two. And if you're sat with the money in the bank for too long without hiring movers, you will lose momentum. On the other hand, if you rush into hiring whoever, it might turn out as a crippling move for your business. Having to invest a lot of your time and effort in hand-holding and managing means time away from other areas you should be focusing on. Your first hires need to be on their own feet rapidly and have an entrepreneurial attitude. So in this video, I'll talk about what worked for me in the early days and mistakes I made that you should probably be avoiding. If you feel the pace is slow, you can increase the playback speed. And before we start, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Right, now we're ready to dive in. I'll tell you from my own experience, it's not an easy ride evolving from founder-only formation to having employee hands on deck. It is stressful enough having to hand over duties you've been perfecting for a while to someone new. To feel comfortable handing over work, you want mature and capable people who can take things to the next level. This might sound harsh, but I stand by my words about recently funded startups that just got, say, 100k to 100k seed funding. Newbies have no place as hires for early startups with a fast pace where growth is achieved because of a wealth of value that each contributes daily. With a limited budget, your first thought might be to hire junior level or even interns. After all, you'd get more people to work with for the same money you'd pay a senior. Resist that urge. There are other ways to cut on the cost of your first employees, but cutting experience and expertise shouldn't be an option. You might think more hands on deck means quicker turnaround, but if those hands are not trained, then you'll wind up burning more time and energy in hand-holding, training, and managing. Time is extremely precious early on, and you'll discover that working with fewer senior and self-managed individuals would churn better results. Now, internships and hiring junior is vital to nurture the younger workforce and will ultimately help grow and evolve your company. But you do that when you can afford to establish a support system to enable them to grow, not today when you're barely starting and don't have the means to enable them. You see, at the end of the day, it's not just about your business. And juniors in early startups is a bad idea because it can turn into an unpleasant experience for them too, if they're not adequately supported to grow. So, skill level is important, but you also need to hire folk that you can work with. You want to consider folk that carry similar personal values and beliefs and make for good work dynamic. Now, before I continue, let me make this clear. Diversity is essential, and having people that think, act, and look differently than you, the founder, is much needed to create a healthy work environment and build inclusive products. But unless that's your style, you wouldn't want to work with genius jerks or folk that are not up for the same journey and create a completely toxic culture. But how do you ensure you hire the right people? First, look at the things you value the most in others and also things you love seeing in the workplace. These traits can also become your company values. And I'd encourage you to create yours and hire based on your company values. Think of the colleagues you enjoyed working with in your past jobs, who you collaborate the best with, but also who you had conflicts and frictions with. Think as well of what you appreciate the most in previous workplaces. Then start forming an idea of your perfect candidate, one that would share as much of the traits of the folk you work well with and less of those you had conflicts. And also they need to have similar workplace culture interests as you do. Once you have this persona, you can start breaking it down into culture fit interview questions. At least a handful of open-ended questions that should lead you to learn if the candidate has the traits you're looking for. I usually place the culture fit interview stage before technical assessment, as I don't want to waste folk time with assignments if I feel not a good fit or be a destructive addition to our team. Also, if you're starting your business just off uni or school and never had a job with work colleagues, try think of the traits you appreciate in school, colleagues, friends, band buddies, etc. The magic question, eh? Now that you know who you want to hire in your team, where do you find them? What makes this question non-trivial for early startup is the lack of resources. For an established company with plenty of budgets is an easier task. You pay a lump sum to a recruitment agency to bring you candidates, you assign the team in charge of recruiting the right folk, and you pay the new employee as much as they are worth on the current market. Simple. But for the rest of us, we need to get creative because we don't have these luxuries, right? The first and simplest thing to do is word of mouth. Yup, reach out to those ex-colleagues you get along well with and ask them if they have any clones of theirs they can recommend.
We are getting aggravated.
Yes, we are.
And I'm exaggerating here to make a point. The reality is that this has worked brilliantly for us so far. The colleagues that I worked well with recommended me available individuals who worked with them well. Usually they share the traits you're looking for, because again, it's not out of the ordinary for people working well together to share the same values. So ask your previous colleagues the question: can you link me up with someone you worked with and think they're talented? It will go a long way, I promise. If you're not able to get your first hires recommended by people you know and trust, then list job adverts where you convey the type of individuals you're looking for. Try to get across as much as possible the culture fit. And given we're talking about seed investment around here, budget and salary potential is modest, so hire remotely. I'm a big fan of remote teams. In fact, it is just my co-founder based in UK and me, with our team spread across Mexico, Brazil, Canada, Ukraine, and India. I talked about this approach in previous videos. Still, essentially, great talent can be found everywhere on this planet, not just in large and expensive cities. Offer an excellent salary in a lower income area rather than a crappy wage in your expensive city. The only reason you'd hire in your city is if you need your team in the same office, but suppose you're building a digital product. In that case, you don't need folk in the same office, especially nowadays where everyone is getting comfortable with working from home. And depending on the region you're looking for a hire, there are websites you can advertise the job openings. For example, for South America, you can post on reremoto.com, or for creatives in, say, Spain, you can post a free advert on Domestika. There are also matchmaking apps that allow you to meet like-minded professionals, creatives, and entrepreneurs from all across the globe. We have team members hired from both approaches, and they're all rock star. We couldn't be happier with.
Mr. Jenner is ready for your interview.
Actually, we'll be interviewing as a team. We're here to fuck shit up.
Today, we have a brilliant team working hard and making big dent. But we did have a bumpy ride to start with, and the tips and advice I gave you just now is what worked for us. and the principles that helped us smoothen that bumpy ride into a more pleasant experience. If you found this video helpful, give us a proper thumbs up and subscribe for more content. I'm Biro from Jexo, and this has been another episode of the Startup Corner. See you in the next one.